Kelly Maves.
Yes.
Take two. Staying busy?
And busy enough.
February?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love this time of year because I can work on my processes because it's not like crazy busy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a lot of like really honing processes and what do we want to ditch? What do we want to keep? It's good.
Purge. It's a great time to purge.
I love purging.
Yeah. I feel like I'm the same way. This is definitely my slow season. And so I try to take this time to better my skills, get a little better, maybe reach out to some clients that maybe I'm too busy to or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely a good time as long as I utilize that time. That's the hard part for me.
I know.
Because I get really slow and then...
Because then it gets to like May and you're like, crap, I totally should have done that.
and then I'm saying that for the whole rest of the year too, right? I'm just like, oh man, if I would have just taken the time when I had the time to do it.
Next year, I'll do that next winter.
Yeah.
Whoops.
That happens all the time too, so...
No, this year it's been good. Like since really January 1st, it's been refining things and I love it.
That's good. And so you also just kind of stepped into your into a how would you say that, it's
a new brokerage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you're pretty excited about that?
Super excited. It's such a fun brand.
Yeah.
I'm a branding geek. Like I get super excited about not the visual appeal of branding, but the science behind it too. Like why branding? Why is it important to brand?
Mm-hmm.
It's so psychological.
Yeah, and I need to do a lot better with the branding aspects too. But I get it. Like you trying to maybe look at different. I don't know if demographics is the right word, but like just marketing areas and things like that as far as branding goes. But so what is the new brand? Next
Home Virtual.
Okay.
Yeah. It's new to the Grand Valley. It's not new in the area though. Next Home Virtual is in Montrose also. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of expanded it here to the Grand Junction area.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
They are pretty blessed to have you come on.
Oh, thank you.
I would say that, yeah.
Thanks.
So you're going to bring them a lot of success. I guarantee that. So that's really cool.
Hopefully. Yeah.
No, it will happen.
It will happen.
It will. So last time we tried to do a podcast before I jacked all the technology stuff up, we talked about a subdivision that you were getting ready to do. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of complications and stuff with some of the locals in that area.
Yeah.
Give us an update now. Like what are you going to do with that subdivision or where are you at with that?
Right now we're reassessing. Okay. There were some things that... we just felt like we were not going to be able to overcome with some of the public outcry that was going on. So we've pulled the application on it and we're reassessing how we're going to resubmit.
Okay. What does some of that reassessing look like?
Just product type, density, amenities, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What can we do that will still allow the community to get what the community needs out of housing, and also allow us to be able to build something that we can build and still have it make sense for us.
Sure. Yeah. Boy, there's so much involved in that stuff. I just never would have thought.
Yeah, it really is kind of crazy, actually. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, I don't know how many developers are alcoholics, but they probably are.
So what's the market like now?
It's really interesting right now. There's this influx of, and there has been for a while, but I think we're really seeing an influx of out-of-town, out-of-staters who are coming in with cash.
Still?
Big cash.
Because this has been going on for what now?
2 years.
2 years, pretty strong 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's
really, I mean, there have been people coming in for a long time. And probably about 9 months prior to COVID hitting, we saw, people still trickling in from out of the area. I think when COVID hit, all of a sudden it was like spotlight on Western Colorado because we have great recreation here. We have housing prices that, comparably speaking, are still somewhat affordable compared to the areas that these people are coming from.
Right.
Not for locals though, and that's a bummer.
Yeah. It is tough. It's tough for for the younger families and stuff right now.
Yeah.
To find stuff.
Yeah. I think as we start to see some higher density developments, though, apartment buildings, townhomes, smaller lots, more amenities, we'll see that kind of level out. Just because you have to be able to hit all those price points to have a long-term sustainable type community.
Yeah.
This can't be a resort town.
Right.
We're not close enough to recreation for this to make sense as a resort town.
No, because that's just too far away then?
We're too far removed. When you think about Aspen, Vale, Telluride, you're right there. You're on top of the recreation. But those communities are very seasonal. So, you've got your shoulder and mud seasons there that are, they're basically ghost towns. A lot of businesses shut down during those times. You go to Ouray in May and there's nothing open.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's tough. Ouray's really tough too because 5 o'clock hits, 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, they shut down.
And everything starts to shut down super fast.
Yeah. So, well, Lake City, we both love Lake City. And October 1st comes and there's nothing there.
Yeah. I think Lake City is the only town in Hinsdale County.
It probably is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. And so and it really stinks too because there's nothing other than the town itself to bring money into the county.
Yeah, it's total tourism dollars there.
Yeah, but it's a short season there.
Very short.
Yeah.
Yeah, like June to September.
Yeah, and that's it. And they have to try to utilize that as much as they possibly can. Although the last 2 years have been really good. I mean, COVID and everybody getting out and camping and stuff has been really, really solid for them.
They don't have a ton of public lands there, though. A lot of it's privately owned. So when you want to go, here, Western Colorado, we're super blessed to have so many BLM lands close that you can go park your camper and go camp.
Yeah.
You don't need a campsite. You don't need a reservation. You just go.
Yeah.
And having lived on the Front Range, there just isn't that there either.
No, the Front Range is locked down big time. Going back to kind of the Grand Junction as far as, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like they were really trying to make this a retirement home 10 or 15 years ago.
So I think just naturally it became a retirement community.
Okay.
Weather's really good. We're pretty temperate compared to a lot of other places. We don't get super hot. We see a lot of people that move to Arizona and they stay there for 2 or 3 years and then they come back.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I don't like the snow. But they get down there and they're like, but I really don't like 118 degrees.
I talk to people that just love it down there. And I'm like, how?
I don't know.
How can you?
I kind of love it. I love to bake.
I mean, gosh.
Yeah.
You're weird.
I know. But I'm also, am I allowed to say this? I'm way too white. I burn in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's both.
I can't do it. Yeah.
I love the heat, but it's bad for me.
See, I love the cold and the sun is really bad for me. So this time of year right now is just perfect. I'm just loving it. So it's perfect. It's perfectly fine. Okay. So it seemed like there was a really big push to kind of make it this retirement community. And now it seems like there's a little bit of a push to make it more touristy now. We're seeing a lot newer modern development and trying to make it I don't know if more family friendly is the terminology, but
I think amenitized is probably a good way to put it.
Yeah.
When you think about a community, what attracts families, what attracts seniors, what attracts young single people? Amenities.
Yeah.
What can they do on their weekends?
Yeah.
And we have recreation here. I think as we need to see some more indoor recreation.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the ice rink is still open. I think that's great for our community.
That's right. What's it called? Sports?
I can't remember.
Crud. I'm going to have to look that up. Yeah. Anyways, it's really good that that's still here. It does get tough in the summer because the 3 to 4 weeks come late July into August, it's super hot here. Um, I mean, we have the heat, but we're also in elevation as well, so it's really tough to hang out outside in the afternoon.
No, you just can't. I mean, like, you better not plan anything before like 7 o'clock at night outside.
Yeah,
It's like blazing hot.
Yeah, at least it seems like in Arizona, it's super hot down in Arizona, but it seems like there's more atmosphere to help block at least that penetrating sun that's just trying to beat you down. And, oh man!
If you see any of like ASU, Arizona State, like stuff, they say, but it's a dry heat, like the Sun Devils. I mean, it is here too.
Yeah, it definitely is. Although it's gotten a lot more humid here than it was like when I grew up here.
True, very true.
Yeah, it used to be super dry.
I actually read somebody had written about this. I don't even remember where I saw it. Why it's more humid here.
Really?
Because of the population growth. Think about how many people move, they plant a yard, they water their grass. That in and of itself creates humidity. So when you have more trees, more grass, more people, like it just ups the humidity level.
I guess so, but I would also think too that as much agriculture as we used to have, there's a lot of irrigation going on, but maybe it's just different.
It's flood irrigating. So
it's just
in the ground,
yeah.
Sprinklered like throws it up in the air.
Yeah, that's got to be, more trees, definitely more grass. That makes sense.
I don't know. That's just what I read. I know nothing.
Don't work anymore.
No, they're horrible. And you think back, like this is personal pet peeve.
Okay.
I have been showing houses to people that are looking in the like $800,000 to $1 million range. Mm-hmm. And the number of evaporative coolers in that price range it's insane. Why would you? And these are houses that were built in like 2003, 2005 with an evaporative cooler.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it's mind numbing.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to convert a house like that because especially if you've got a 2-story or a 2-story with a basement, what a nightmare. Because you've got to do duct work and everything else. And how are you going to get the duct work to all of the different rooms when you've got floors stacked?
Yeah. It's insane. I remember, it's funny because Danielle and I last year were kind of, entertaining the idea of maybe looking for a place. And if it does not have forced air, AC, then we're not doing it.
No, and that is the way it is for so many people. Like it's a flat out deal killer.
Yeah. If
you spend $10,000-$15,000 to put central air in your house is probably worth $25,000 more. I mean, like,
wow,
that is one of those things that it absolutely pays off.
So if someone was flipping houses, is that like a good investment to try to do?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because it is pricey, but
it's pricey. But I'm telling you, there are lots of people that I work with, that when they're looking at like the listings that come through, they will not even look at one that has evaporative cooling. Won't even look at it.
Wow. So,
and I would be the same way.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and I know that we could convert it, but
yeah.
I just know. I mean, like, what a pain to do that.
Yeah, you want it done.
Yeah.
You don't want to live there without it.
No, it's really good until it gets to like 30% humidity out, and then it's like worthless.
Yeah. My sister's house has evaporative coolers, and I just don't know how they do it.
How do you survive?
No,
we're so
just
spoiled.
Muggy yeah, we are.
It's first world problems, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I bet if you were to go to like Uganda and like, do you want an evaporative cooler? They'd be like, yes, please.
Yes, please.
And we're like, no evaporative cooling.
I know that is true, but it gets hard for me to sleep. I mean, it comes with all its problems. But so a lot of the people that are coming into Grand Junction moving wise, a lot of them are from California and those types of areas. They have central air in California, don't they? Mm-hmm. That's just kind of the standard there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really know of any place that outside of Arizona maybe and New Mexico that evaporative cooling is like just a thing. Yeah. Most places, you talk to them about a swamp cooler and they're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like, why would I want that in my house?
Right. Except for this little dot of Grand Junction here in Colorado.
Right. Here's a fun fact. When I moved over to the Denver area, we lived in a townhouse there that had no air conditioning
At all.
at all. And I was like, does it get that hot here? And they're like, oh no, it doesn't normally get above like 85, 90. They lied.
Yeah.
Liars.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get to like nearly as hot as it does here.
Yeah.
It may get to 95 a few days during the summer, but it really does stay considerably cooler there.
But if you don't, I mean, if you have a house that has like a lot of windows, you got to get that air moving. At least get it moving. Otherwise, it's just gonna be so hot.
We lived in that house for one summer because I was like, I'm moving. I can't, like, I'm dying. And it was no joke, 92 degrees inside the house.
Oh.
With all the windows, like I would open them all up at night
Yeah.
to try to like get the air moving
Yeah.
or whatever. And I'm like, it's just moving hot air around.
can't do
It's not
that.
doing anything.
I think at night my house is like 64 degrees.
Yeah, I think Michael has ours like 66. And I'm like, it's so
Yeah.
cold.
But I don't know. I just can't do it. It has to be cold at night, super cold at night. But yeah, so the market is it still an inventory issue?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, big time.
Which
I posted a thing the other day, how many houses were currently on the market in Fruita.
mm-hmm.
There were 14 at the time.
Holy
Average price
cow.
point, $685,000.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's crazy. That's just
Yeah.
crazy.
14 houses.
14 active listings in Fruita with
No
an
less
average price of $685,000.
Holy smokes. There's just no way that first time young families are going to be able to do any of that out there. Wow. Which kind of leads us back into the development that you guys are really wanting to work on. I mean, you guys really want to try to bring in some more affordable housing over there.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love nothing more than for police officers, firefighters, teachers to be able to afford to buy a place. Like, if anybody in our society should be able to afford to buy a place, it's the people who are putting up with our kids every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That should count for something.
that's true.
They should get like preference points or I don't know.
Yeah, they should get some sort of a government break of, I don't know how what you would call that, but a
Right.
subsidy or something.
Or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, I think Danielle and I's house, our first home that we bought, we got into it for like $114,000.
My first one was $87,000.
Oh man, those were the good old days.
It was brand new.
Yeah, ours was brand new.
$87,000
Where was that?
here in town.
Really?
Yeah, southeast area.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. 80,000. That's unheard of.
We're closing on a lot on Monday, like
Mhm.
a lot to build on up in the Redlands for Maves Construction. It's $130,000. Like, you think
Just
about
for
that,
the
just
lot?
for that dirt.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Is there any going back at all?
I don't know. I mean, like, not while we're under this inventory crunch.
Right.
Like, really, that's going to be the only way that this is alleviated at all. And we're so far behind where we need to be.
What
I
do
think
you
I
mean?
shared these stats with you before, but I'll share them again.
Yeah.
From the 2000 to 2010, there were 6.5 million units built nationwide. 6.5 million in 10 years.
Okay.
Most of those were from 2000 to 2007 because we know what happened in 2008, right? Everything crashed.
Mm-hmm.
You look to 2010 to 2020, and there were 2.5 million units built in a 10-year period from 2010 to 2020.
Okay, so go back to the first ones again.
6.5 million.
6.5 million,
Mm-hmm.
and then only
2.5.
2.5 million.
Yeah. And in that same time period,
Holy cow.
2000 to 2010, 48 million Americans entered adulthood, turned 18.
Wow.
So let's pretend all of those people decide to get married.
Mm-hmm.
That's 24 million households in the same time period.
So this is going everywhere.
Oh,
Then.
oh yeah. We're so far behind. And that doesn't take into account attrition, like people passing away, because that for sure,
Sure.
kind of offsets that, but not nearly as much as it needs to. The millennial generation is the biggest generation.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like bigger than like the baby boomers generation?
Bigger than the boomers even.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that was ever going to be possible, especially with the statistics of marriage going down, and people having kids is getting later in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people
It
are
is.
having kids a lot later in life, so
Yeah.
that does kind of surprise me.
So unless we're going to have our kids like living in our basements forever, we got to get this inventory situation taken care of because they're not going to have a place to move to.
Right. Yeah, and I guess the nice thing here in the valley is that we still have a lot of area that we can build in. I don't necessarily like seeing the agriculture getting taken away, but it seems like, I don't know, why aren't they going north?
Well, there's the NIMBY sort of mindset, right? Not in my backyard, NIMBY.
Okay.
And nobody likes to have development in their backyard, especially when you spend all this money and you buy your 10 acres and
Right.
you've got your barn and you've got your cattle and you've got like, that's the lifestyle that you've chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have somebody that comes in and wants to develop the 20 acres behind you into higher density housing. Nobody likes to have that in their backyard.
Yeah.
But you also have to understand that even the 10 acres that you have was not always 10 acres. That at one time was 40 acres.
Right.
That was split down to 10.
Yeah.
Or at one time it was 140, like a whole section.
You still had a neighbor that was like, oh my gosh.
You
I can't
still
believe
did.
They're building a house that close to me, even though they're like half a mile away.
Right. And all of these subdivisions around here, I mean, think about Paradise Hills. You know, that's quite a ways out there still.
Mm-hmm.
But that was built in the late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, I didn't realize it was. I guess it does make sense. Those houses look it.
I mean, think about how ticked off those neighbors out in that north area probably were when they built those houses.
And now it's just normal.
It's just normal. Like until you start telling people like, okay, here's the thing. We're going to put a gate on I-70 on both sides and Highway 50. We're not going to let anybody else in the valley. And also we're going to sterilize all of you so we don't have any more kids.
Right.
There's going to be growth. Like we have to be realistic about it.
That's true. What about like the desert areas up north? Like
that's a possibility, but there's no water there. Like
okay.
So I mean, you have to look at municipal services, right?
Mm-hmm.
Water, sanitation, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And the huge expense there is to get it out to some of those outlying areas. I mean, it's astronomical.
Really?
Yeah, there's some areas like J and 23 where you're kind of on the fringe there, you know, like HIJ, like all of those, where there's some bigger parcels out there that can be developed. Some of them are even in the 501, which is the sewer boundary, Persigo boundary. But the sewer is not even close to that parcel. And so in order to develop that parcel, there's a few different things you have to look at. The municipalities have come up with what's called their future land use plan. And they've identified areas that, based on natural growth, where it would make the most sense to have higher density housing. Mm-hmm. And it kind of starts in this core and it works its way out. So it's higher density in the core and kind of graduates out. Mm-hmm. And some of those outlying parcels like GHI are larger parcels, but on the future land use show higher density. The Appleton area is a really good example of that. Mm-hmm. However, to pull sewer in is over the top. I mean, like so expensive because you're pulling it in some areas up to a mile and you're millions of dollars to do that. Yeah. And you cannot develop it without pulling sewer in.
Right.
So what does that mean? Like, who's going to do that?
Well, and what ends up happening is the buyers end up paying for that, but that's just going to jack the prices of their homes up.
Right. The buyers pay for it if it makes sense, but a developer is going to look at the numbers. They're going to spreadsheet it, come up with a pro forma and decide based on market conditions now, this is how much I can sell the lots for. This is my horizontal infrastructure cost. This is what it's going to cost to bring sewer in, water, Excel energy, which is a whole nother deal. Mm-hmm. And is it going to make sense? Can I make money on this? And when you start crunching the numbers, oftentimes the answer is no.
Yeah.
So then you look at properties that are closer in. Mm-hmm. And what can we do with those properties? Like infill lots is what that's called. Infill development, where you've got a development already around. And then you look at this. So Grand Junction, actually, if you've looked down the Front Range, you drive through these massive subdivisions where there's like 1,000 houses in a subdivision. You don't see these little pocket subdivisions like we have here, where there's 30 houses, one cul-de-sac. But that's why, because we've got these infill parcels that it doesn't make sense to do a big development out here. So we're going to do a small one inside somewhere.
Gotcha.
And it looks completely different, and it's a little tiny pocket HOA. And
yeah. Like behind Walmart in Rimrock, is that kind of an example of what you're talking about?
Yeah, those apartments that are there. So that's a great development. I mean, like super smart on the part of that developer to kind of think ahead of what else could be there. What's a good land use there? You're not going to put single family there because you've got the train tracks, and it's, pretty industrial and part of that as you go back around. Great use. Good use.
Yeah, and anybody who lives there has everything they need right there. Yeah. Yeah. At first I guess I see new developments sometimes, and I get into my little old school grumpy old man, or what'd you call it, the NIMBYs?
Yeah.
And
you're a NIMBY.
Yeah.
Oh.
I
think we all have that in us, though.
Sure. Yeah. And so when I first saw that development, I was just like, oh man. And then especially it's real dense. That's a real dense.
It is. Yeah.
And typically when you get real dense like that, then you end up kind of having issues, right? Like there ends up being some issues that go on with crime and things like that. Like
I think that's a misunderstanding.
Is it? I think
it really is. There are young professionals who have great jobs who are not able to find a place to live.
Yeah.
Alana, my daughter, for example,
Mm-hmm.
she's 21 and she's renting a place for $1,050 a month at 21 years old.
Yeah.
My first house payment was like $700 a month.
Right.
I mean, like, to be able to be that age and having to put out that kind of money for a place to live is insane.
Yeah.
And those apartments actually start about $1,200 a month for a 1-bedroom. So you're not getting those like.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. So those apartments are $1,200 to $1,700 a month. Those are young professionals who are just need a place to live, aren't necessarily putting roots down yet.
Right. It's perfect, actually.
It's great. Yeah.
I think a lot of college students are probably going to live in there where parents are flipping the bill or something like that.
Possibly. I mean, there's a lot of stuff down by the college that they could get that's a little closer to, but.
That stuff's it's full though. It's pretty full. And it's expensive to be on campus.
Oh yeah.
Super expensive.
Yeah. I think most of them only do that like freshman year.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're out. Yeah. Actually, the parents are like, we're not paying for this anymore.
That's right. Go find a job and rent your own place. Yep, exactly.
Which is a great concept. So you think about, there's a loan called a kiddie condo. I know it sounds a little crazy, but as a parent, let's say you've got your kid that's going to college. You live in the Denver area. They're going to college here in Grand Junction, and you're trying to find a place for them to rent. Mm-hmm. Well, houses down by the college are renting for $500 to $700 per bedroom. So if your kid if you buy a house and you can actually co-sign for your kid, so they're building their own credit then, and they rent out 3 of the bedrooms in the house to their buddies.
Yeah.
Your payment's almost covered.
That's perfect.
And then you keep it for 4 years. You either sell it in 4 years after your kids graduated from college or whatever, or if they decide to stay here, then they've got a house.
Yeah. Or you just tell them to go fend for yourselves, and then you have your nice retirement fund. Just keeps just keeps coming.
I think that really happens.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. That's crazy. Well, going back to that development behind Walmart, that's really encouraging, I guess, and that helps me kind of open up my eyes. And I hope that anybody watching and listening to this too can understand that you're not going to stop the growth.
Right. No.
Yeah. It's something that's going to happen. And then to turn your focus maybe to, what are the positives? What are the positives of Grand Junction continually growing?
I'm sure. Okay. So lots of people probably saw on social media in the last week about these new restaurants that are coming to town. And there's some good ones coming.
There are, yeah.
Cracker Barrel's coming and Culver's is coming,
Yep.
really good, healthy food. Good options.
Another Texas Roadhouse on that end of
Yes.
town is going to be really cool.
No, that'll be great because
Yeah.
Texas Roadhouse is always packed.
Always.
Yeah.
And their prices are still dang good for the amount of food
They're
that
not
you
bad.
get.
Yeah. So lots of good restaurants coming to town. So every time our community, they look by county, hits certain population thresholds, you're going to start to see different
Yeah.
retailers, restaurants coming into town. So when we hit 125,000, that's when we saw kind of that Rimrock development come in. So we saw Lowe's and we saw TJ Maxx and Ross and like some of those other things there. Now that we've hit 150,000, we're going to see another like influx of retail, Dillard's,
Yeah.
Dick's. Some of those are going to start coming in
Yeah.
now that we've hit that 150,000 threshold. So yes, growth is hard to see, but do you like the convenience of some of the retailers that we see also?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I just wish I could get to those retailers. They got to get that stupid intersection down there at G and 24 road.
The never ending road
Oh
project.
my gosh. Yeah, it and again, that's definitely a first world problem, but it stinks trying to get into that Spanish Trail subdivision right now.
Oh yeah.
Cuz
Yeah.
you got to either go through the park or go around. I don't know. It's silly, but yeah, it is cool to see the new stuff coming in.
I think business growth we see too, outside of just retail. When you think about the world of recreation and we see these recreation-based companies coming in, that's great because that brings in tourism and business,
Yeah.
which like double whammy.
Yep.
And all of that trickles into other areas too.
It really does. Yeah, that's how the economy works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I know the Grand Junction High School thing was controversial, the dollar amount, not necessarily the actual high school itself.
Yeah.
That will bring different people into the valley.
Yeah.
Just in and of itself, it will.
Yeah. That administration did not help themselves at all, though. So
Yeah.
well, and it's sad too because it was the kids that lost.
Yeah.
Over all of that went down, and
it's so cool now to hear kids that are excited that they're going to be going to Grand Junction High School. Like I've talked to quite a few kids lately that are in the Grand Junction High School area, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait!"
Yeah,
Which is so cool for them.
It is because Junction High School just got this stigma for being run down, and it was hard to go to school there, and a nice fresh start. Yeah, I remember when Central did their big remodel, and I was going there right when they were doing all the pylons and everything. I mean, you're sitting there trying to do your work, it's bang, bang. And it was just really cool. You just kind of got we got a new gym, so I think my senior year we were in the new gym, and it was just neat, the basketball games were awesome because you could pack in a lot more people, and so it was really cool.
Yeah, I was in 8th grade the year Redlands Middle School opened, and it was like a big deal, huge deal, because like the Fruita Redlands, like I'm from Fruita, I'm from Redlands,
right?
Like that was always there, and then you have the middle school for the Redlands, and that whole thing has gotten all mixed up with the 8-9 school, and the Fruita kids go there in 8th grade. The Redlands kids go in 9th grade. Like nobody knows who's coming and going.
That's true. That is
I have a term for that.
Yeah.
It's a man plan. I'm like, somebody didn't think all the way through that one.
Fair enough. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, that was like one of those ideas that was taken from somewhere not here and brought in to try to make it work. And
I think it maybe could work still if you had the students all coming in at the same time.
Yeah.
When you have this kids from Fruita coming in and they're already like, this is my turf. And then you've got the Redlands kids coming in a year later and they're like, welcome to our school. It's so weird. And then like the 8th graders play middle school sports, the 9th graders play high school sports.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot that was not totally thought through on that.
Yeah. It almost seems like I don't know.
It was a
They
major Band-Aid fix for sure.
That's a great term for it. Yeah, a Band-Aid fix, which it's still going to be an issue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to have to. Well, they need to do it soon, I guess, too, because the land is. It seems like the land is there, but it's also it's being developed by other things. If they wanted to extend the high school or whatever, that's what I guess.
Yeah, I
Right
think
now they
really
could go to the east.
they
There's
could.
nothing there, and maybe they already have it kind of zoned off for that. I don't know.
So the 8-9 school, I believe, don't quote me, is exactly the same floor plan as Bookcliff Middle School.
Okay.
I think it is the same size, but the population numbers in Fruita are just huge.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's a lot of kids out there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to have to be, and I know out by Appleton Elementary, there's a ton of school district land out there.
Yeah.
And they've looked at putting a middle school there somewhere. And at some point, they probably will close Fruita Middle School, turn that one into Fruita Middle School. The 8-9 school then will become Fruita Middle School. And some of those other kids that are on the middle between Junction and Fruita will end up at maybe Appleton Middle School or something like that.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what needs to happen. Yeah, I mean, gosh, the growing pains, right?
And there always is.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we never like it when as a community member, well, that affects me, right?
Yeah.
We're so selfish.
Yeah.
I am so selfish. I don't want it to affect me. How is this going to affect me?
Yeah. It's true.
But it's a lot easier to stomach it when you're like, okay, how's this going to affect my kids?
Oh, yeah. It's immediate at that point. You're
right.
like, oh, my kids could benefit from this.
Yeah. This is going to be good for my kids. And, I think we can do that because we still have younger kids.
Yeah.
But the further away from that you get when you're like, you don't have kids in your house anymore and
right.
you don't even have grandkids in town anymore. You're like, why? I don't want this. So
that's so going to be me. The moment I'm an empty nester, I'm going to have no friends. Nobody's going to want to hang around me. I'm going to be this grumpy old man.
Yeah, I'll be like, Troy, how's it going to affect your grandkids?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the only. It's a good thing I have.
You're like, I don't care. It's not my problem.
It's a good thing I have kids now because that's the only thing keeping me from being at least somewhat soft, I guess. I'm headed to be the get off my lawn. That's the type of old man I'm going to be. It's terrible. You brought up a good point of things that can help or activities and things for kids, and recreation type stuff. And I can't help but think about that little water feature that they did downtown.
Yeah.
And we were so excited about it. So excited about it. And the issues at hand that made that it's a gated off area now. I mean, it's really too bad. Just a quick interesting story. My sister-in-law owned the pretzel maker, and she specifically went downtown because they brought in that water feature. And then they gated it off, made it no longer, you couldn't do anything with other than just kind of look at it. And it wasn't shortly after that she had to pull the plug on her business.
That's too bad.
Yeah. Really, really stinks. So.
Well, and I think part of that is because we are just in this early phase of adding amenities to our community. I mean, we really are. You go to some other communities and they're much more robust amenities.
Yes. Their water feature areas are ginormous.
They're huge. And we get super excited about things like that.
Yeah.
To where we go over the top, right? Those sorts of things are not for your beach towels.
That's true.
Don't take your beach towels to the water feature.
That's true.
That's for when you're walking around downtown and you can let your kids run for a minute and then off you go.
That's true.
It's just going to take some.
Well, and I think it would
be
have
a
gotten
civilized
there,
sort of society.
Yeah.
But there weren't I talked to business owners down there who, people are taking their whole families and their beach towels and everything and laying them out on the sidewalk in
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had heard that it was more the homeless that were making it a big issue.
I think maybe I think I did hear that too,
Yeah.
but in speaking with business owners down there, that was the least of the
Sure.
the problem.
Yeah.
And maybe
we
now that
gotta.
there's the one at Lincoln Park, and
Mhm.
maybe once we get a couple more, they can take the gates down and
Yeah.
we can pretend like
Boy,
we're a
if they could do
civilized
something
society.
like down at the Edgewater area. Is that what
Mhm.
it's called?
Yeah.
Is that what they call
Las
it?
Colonias.
Las Colonias
Yeah.
area. Yeah. Boy, if they could do something like that, that'd be perfect.
Well, there's that like kind of jetty area that they've put in there where
Like
you can
that
go.
little canalish
Mhm.
area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That has a strong dependency on like water flow.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, and
And from what I hear, it's like after middle of July, it's kind of worthless because there's no water even flowing through there because
it's
the
just
river's not running high enough.
right. Yeah. Which they could probably fix, but then you get into like when you're messing with the water, it gets real crazy.
One
at
of
that
my
point.
real estate agent friends said the funniest thing once. He goes, "It's Western Colorado where whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting."
That's perfect. That's exactly how it is. That actually brings up a point that we talked about on that first try of the podcast about the river and like floating the river. Do you remember that conversation we
Yes,
had?
and you've never floated
And
the river.
I've never floated the river.
It's happening this year. It's happening.
Yeah, and you'll have to bathe me completely down in sunblock and and we did talk. One of the reasons why I don't like going in the river is because it's just dirty.
Yeah.
Like murky, super murky water all the time. I like fly fishing, and so that's
Yes,
my type
I
of
know.
water.
I'm with you.
know, I want crystal clear water.
Like pristine, you can
yeah.
see the fish through it.
Yep, exactly. That's my idea. And
No,
then when
it's all a mystery in Colorado.
exactly. You don't know what it is. Something brushed past your leg, and you're just like, I just have to ignore that. I don't know what it was. But yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, I'll float it. I'll float the river. It'll be interesting.
Mark that down.
Right?
You said you would do it.
I'll vlog it and then I'll throw it up on my podcast here.
We'll get a heavyweight paddleboard.
Oh, that's right. Well, it's too bad that I could totally retell that story, I guess, but
We'll just say Troy sunk the paddleboard.
that's right. Gotta be a skinny person in order to paddleboard. If you're a big hefty guy, it makes it real difficult. And you got to make sure that you get the double triple X paddleboard. Otherwise, you're sinking. So
We also talked about cruising north. So
oh yeah,
well, yeah. So we'll make sure that we bring that back.
yeah. We'll bring back.
It's time
Yeah, we're gonna cruise north.
in our Suburbans. And
Oh, right.
that'll
Crazy
be
in our
awesome.
really crappy stereos in our vehicles. Although stereos have come a long way. Stock stereos in vehicles.
True.
come a
I think
long
mine
way.
has like Bose or something.
Yeah. Mine has the Bose too. So it
pretty
sounds
good. Yeah. So when we're blasting music from halftime,
Yep.
yeah.
So,
I don't watch football. I'm real excited about the halftime show though.
you are?
Yes, I am. It's going to be so fun.
Oh, I don't know. Here comes the grumpy old man in me. That genre, I'm not too big on the genre. I respect it, but I'm just not.
It just brings back a lot of memories. Like I wouldn't say
Sure.
like I'm driving, although when I cruise north, I probably will turn it on just
Yeah.
for old time's sake.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I saw the halftime and I wasn't thrilled about it at all, but I don't know.
I hope it's as fun as I'm like hyping it up in my head to be, because I think it's going to be fun.
You just got to make sure your kids aren't in the room, typically.
Probably true.
Yeah. That's just how it is anymore, which is a shame, but
Yeah.
oh wow. I don't know. Yeah, it's going back to the growing pains topic. It something that is going to happen and needs to happen. I feel like Junction, there's a lot of things that Junction can do to really bring in a lot more money than it has right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they really utilize the recreation we have around us.
Right.
And I think maybe with more people coming in, maybe that will start to grow? I don't know.
I think it will. And I think we're kind of on a cusp of growing up as a community.
That's a good way
when
of
you
putting
think
it.
about small communities versus large communities, they had to have gotten large in some way. Like they had to have been very intentional about their growth and what amenities were brought in. And all of those do cost the community money though. And
yeah, but you think about, they tried to create that, what's the word? Like the event center or whatever. They tried to vote on 2 or 3
oh
years
yeah,
ago.
the convention center. Yeah.
Yeah. And was it convention center? Is that what it was? Or what was it I thought it was going to be more like a mini MGM Grand or something like that, where it was.
Oh, I don't know.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Well, I know they had talked about expanding Two Rivers Convention Center, like to the thing across the street, and they were going to do like a minor league, something.
Oh wow.
Basketball? No, I don't remember. Some sport. I'm not a sport person, so when I see stuff like that, I'm like, glaze over, move on.
Sure. I'm having a hard time remembering this, but
I mean, they had the rec center at Matchett Park that they were trying to pass once upon a time, which I still think we need. I mean, I think that would be something centrally located in Grand Junction as a rec center.
Yeah.
It has to happen.
Yeah. I don't even know why we don't have one.
It's because
everywhere has
people
one.
that want people get off their grass, Troy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. My future. But Fruta has one.
Montrose has a killer rec center.
It's so cool. So I don't even know why I didn't know this, but Delta has that beautiful lake.
Yes.
Over there.
Yeah.
And there's a rec center over there too.
There is. It's a nice one.
I've lived in Grand Junction my entire life, and I had a client that was like, I want to do a photo shoot over here at the lake. And I was like, oh, okay. That's the first time that I ever drove off Delta to that area. It's so cool.
It's cool. Yeah.
I wish we had. Fruta's got something kind of like that,
Yeah.
But
do you want to know why Fruita's was able to pass? The kicker for Fruita passing the rec center on the ballot is because it also is the senior center. I'm not even kidding. They were not able to pass that until they got the seniors involved and on board with it, because it became the Fruita Senior Center also. So there were activities there for seniors. So when they think about like, how does this affect me?
Right.
That's how it affects you.
It's really interesting because in our conversation right here, right now, like I can see City Girl Kelly, right? Yeah. City Girl Kelly is saying like, this is what we need to do. And then grumpy old man Troy, but being able to have this conversation is really, really cool.
But I want you to like think outside of like grumpy old man Troy,
right.
And what are the things that you want to see in your community?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that growth stems other different types of growth. So maybe something down the line that somebody would be able to get involved in or would like, but you got to take these little steps, right? You got to kind of, it's growing pains,
It is. Yeah. And sometimes you just have to like stomach the burden of that and trust that there will be benefit.
Yeah. I appreciate City Girl Kelly. I really do. Like,
good.
I do, because I don't know, it brings forward movement, I guess is the best way to say that. No. So even though I see myself as like this grumpy old man, I still desire more amenities, right? And sure. I desire success for Grand Junction. And when it feels like it's been stagnant for so long, and then you're just like, man, like there's not a whole lot to do here, as you're growing up, and so you're just like, well, I have to travel 250 to 300 miles to go do something pretty extravagant.
Right.
I
mean, like an indoor water park.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
It would be so cool.
Yeah.
Because everybody goes to Glenwood or
Great
Wolf or wherever And we're not going to have anything like that on that level probably, but something would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's.
And I think as
No
part of that,
desire-
the balance of that is, of course, fiscal responsibility.
Sure.
I think there is a way to do it. And I think it can be done in a way that is very fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
You know, when you're stewarding people's tax dollars, it's a big deal. And to be able to do that in a way where you make people feel comfortable, like, you know what, we're not going to spend more than we have to, but we're going to make it really nice. So one, it withstands the test of time.
Yeah.
And two, it attracts people to our community.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where the balance has to be.
That's what my question has been probably for the last 5 to 10 years is like, where is our tax money? Honestly, you know, and now if I was talking with some city council people, they'd be able to like spreadsheet it and be like,
oh,
here.
I've sat down with Greg Caton, who's our city manager before, and he has those numbers like, psh, psh, psh,
Yeah.
like, and he knows exactly where every dollar is going. He's
Yeah.
an incredibly smart man.
Yeah. But I don't see it.
Yeah, I know.
And so maybe they just need to be better about educating people.
Yeah. I mean,
But
I think it would be really
seems
great
like
to send
there's
out like maybe even just once a year, post on like a pie graph, like, right? Like this is where your tax dollars are going.
Yeah.
City services, municipal support, like whatever they may be.
Right. And maybe I'm just being really ignorant and naive to the fact that they're like, it's all right here. You can go look. But I think you do need to be on like a social level. You have to put it out there. And you have, and make it look good.
Yeah. You
know what I'm saying? Like nobody wants to just look at spreadsheet type of stuff, and nobody wants to go nobody is Googling and going through websites to find the spreadsheet of,
I've done it.
Maybe Kelly, City Girl Kelly.
It's there.
She loves that stuff.
If you really want to look at it.
But you got to make it look, I don't know, because this is what I see is a promised park out between 29.5 Road and 30 Road off of Patterson. That has never happened, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? And then a promised park between 28.5 and 29 Road.
Yeah, match it.
The big one, right?
Yeah.
And we're not seeing it.
So Match It Park, and this may be some of what I've heard.
Sure.
That was donated land that had been donated to the city for use as a park. And from what I understand, that donation expires at a certain point. Like the family had donated it and said, if you can't turn it into a park by such and such date, I don't know what it is, then it has to be sold.
Okay.
But in order to do that, they have to have the funds to be able to do the park. And
sure.
I know Canyon View Park was in the plan for probably 20 years, 25 years before it ever even happened.
Wow.
So, and it's very expensive, like astronomically expensive to build a really cool park like Canyon View.
Yeah.
It needs to happen because if you go to Canyon View on any weekend,
oh gosh,
you live right there.
I live right there. Yeah. But at the same time, I love seeing that stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though there's a part of me that I'm like, I hate crowds, but I love seeing success.
And talk about tourism dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, like families traveling with their kids for sports.
Yeah.
That is huge tourism dollars.
Yeah.
Huge dollars.
Yeah.
They come into town and they spend money.
We have such mild cold season. Our warm season is a really long time.
It is.
Yeah.
St. George, Utah has done a really great job of capitalizing on their climate for youth sports.
Really?
They have incredible youth sports facilities there.
How big is St. George compared to Grand Junction?
It's probably, so they're very sprawled out because they have a huge valley. St. George itself is not that much bigger than Grand Junction, but the outlying area is probably, I would bet they're 250,000 people. I bet they're 100,000 bigger than we are.
Okay. Than the Grand Valley. Okay.
But they've got, their location from urban areas is key. Like they're close enough to Las Vegas, close enough to Salt Lake, straight up from Phoenix. Like they're really a good centrally
Yeah.
located area for a lot of those tournaments.
Because there's a lot of big money that came into that area over
it's
the last
insane.
decade.
I looked up the average wage of somebody in St. George. It was like $36,000 a year for a person who lives and works in St. George.
Really?
That means it's all influx money.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's just bringing money in because the
Yeah.
average house price is like $800,000.
Wow. Jeez. So I guess I look at St. George and I'm like, they're doing it, and they're making it happen. And so I'm just like, oh, come on, Junction. Like, what are we doing? I don't know.
Got to get the seniors on board. The grumpy old men.
Grumpy old Troy's. I know. And yeah, it's just got to happen.
Well, and I look at it as, now that we have 3 adult kids, like I look at it also as, is this a community that my adult kids are going to want to raise their families in?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there someplace that they can go where they can find the amenities that they need, find the education that's good for their kids?
Yeah.
And I don't think we're there yet.
Oh,
Like,
man,
we're not
no.
there.
Like elementary, yeah, sure. But even starting at the middle school level, then you're just like, oh man, like it gets questionable, and you're fighting to try to get into 2 middle schools and then fighting to try to get into 2 high schools,
Yeah.
And
I think good, healthy competition is good for everybody, right? Like
yeah,
when you have other types of schools that come in that provide that competition to
Sure.
the
Yeah.
public schools,
mm-hmm.
Caprock has probably done nothing but good things for the community.
Sure.
Juniper Ridge has probably done, like, some of those alternative type learning environments just make everybody perform better. So,
Boy, the growing pains that they've had to go through, those
oh
astronomical.
yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, because they're not publicly funded, right? Like
Right.
they have to really
Well, I think-
earn their own capital.
I think Caprock, they get some sort of.
I think they're grant money.
Is
but
it grant money?
yeah, I think
Okay.
they do get like some per student grant money.
Okay.
But it's not nearly what it would be.
So let me ask you this: this is going way back to our conversation of like sewer out into those real rural areas or whatever, like way out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there grants and stuff that you can get for that? Like, can the city apply for stuff like that at all?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Because if you could just get it out there and then, like, it's a big expense up front and then you would get it back, but it's just how long you would get all that back, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
So St. George, for example, there's a big development that's going on like way out east, southeast of St. George.
so I'm assuming it's going to cost a lot of money to get everything out
It's
there.
huge.
Okay.
They actually started their own sanitation company and water company out there because it was so far away from
Okay.
the regular municipal ones
Mhm.
that they just needed to start their own.
Okay.
Which is like, can you imagine the cost?
Oh,
I mean, but it's thousands and thousands of homes. We're talking
yeah.
huge. They're building a city.
Jeez. How do you even start that?
With the big, deep pockets.
I guess so, but who's fronting that?
A developer.
Wow. Wow. Those pockets go really deep.
Yeah, I don't even know what that would look like.
But, I mean, that return is probably only 10 to 15 years away.
So a lot of those big communities plan on 25 to 50 years to
Programs.
build them out.
Okay.
So we're working with a developer right now that is doing the water tower hill in the Redlands. And they're planning on that being probably 20 to 30 years.
Before they get their their major return back on it.
Well, before it's done. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and you don't really see a return until the end of it. Development is extremely expensive up front.
Yeah.
You don't really start making money until the end.
Wow.
So they have to be invested long term.
Yeah.
And I know developers get a really bad rap because, of the NIMBY thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're putting out huge risk
Yeah.
in order to make a community better.
Yeah. People need to get educated. I need to get educated,
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, we can wrap this up. But
All right.
thank you again. Thanks for
Thanks.
coming in again and trying to let me do this correctly, I guess. So,
You bet.
Always appreciate it. Best of luck with you and your venture on
Thank you.
with the new brokerage.
Yeah, thanks.
And for all those millions of people that are watching, Kelly Maves, look for her if you're looking to buy or sell a home. She'll take care of you.
So cheesy.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.